Okay. Got back to the bank today. It's no longer TCF Bank Stadium. It's now Huntington Bank Stadium. But got back to Gopher game first time 2 years. Saw almost the same fucking game as I saw 2 years ago because the last game I went to was against Georgia Southern, and the Gophers almost lost that. They kind of needed almost like a miracle to come back and win that. Uh, this was almost this was almost one of the most colossal choke jobs in the history of Gopher football, which is really saying something because they're experts at it. Um, so they're coming off the Ohio State game last week. Everyone's feeling. I mean, not everyone, but everyone's most everyone is feeling like, okay, we hung with Ohio State. You know, only lost by I think it was 14-point game. Um, it wasn't. And of course they led, I think, at halftime. So we were like, okay, even I'm buying in a little bit. Like, okay, they're gonna run off a bunch of wins now with their schedule, and they're not gonna obviously be like contenders for anything major, but okay, um, they're gonna rip off some wins and hopefully have a good season. And nothing really to dissuade you from that opinion at halftime today because it wasn't necessarily like a bludgeoning, but they were up 21-3. Could have been more. um, I thought they had a drive right before halftime where they kind of screwed up with weird. They were in a weird hurry for some reason. They had like timeouts and they were around the 50 and they were like really hurrying. I don't know what that was about. But it didn't end up scoring off that. But they were up 21-3 at the half. You figure, okay, they're already for the most part just running the ball. I mean, I think they had like seven passing plays in the first half, something like that. So they're doing this, so they're gonna just run away with it now in the second half. Boy, they sure fuck did not. I don't know how a game when you're up 21-3 at halftime at home against that level of competition becomes a game in which you are not officially winning that game until about a minute and a half left in the fourth quarter. Um, so they didn't do shit with that last second quarter possession to pad the score, but they were getting the ball to start the third quarter. They didn't do shit with that. It was just a terrible 3-and-out, and then they let Miami of Ohio go down, score a touchdown, and just like that, a game that should probably be like 35-3 is 21-10, and Gopher offense just was awful. They couldn't get anything. They were just being completely dominated, especially in that third quarter. Um, they couldn't run, they couldn't pass. I mean, they still weren't really trying to pass, and it's like it was every play call on offense was either we're going to run it straight up the middle into an 8 or 9 man front, or we're going to have a pass play into like multiple coverage. And there were a couple tip balls. They were lucky there were no interceptions. Um, you know, it got to be 21-13. Miami got a field goal. We still can't move the ball. Miami gets the ball again, and they go punch it in for a touchdown. Now 21-19. They got a 5-yard penalty on the point after, and for some reason they decided to kick the extra point anyway. Like I don't what if you're running a 2-point play at that point anyway. What's the difference? What's 5-yard difference? Especially when at that point it was into the fourth quarter, and you're kicking an extra point to stay down 21-20. I don't know what that was about. Then the Gophers finally got some fucking momentum. They got a nice kick return, and then they ripped off like 5 runs in a row, and boom, touchdown. Like just that fast, you know. Because surprise, surprise, they decided to run behind the offense on that Falele. They decided to run behind him. He's the one who's probably going to be in the NFL. Well, yeah, why don't you run behind the guy who's your best player, your best lineman? It took that long to figure that shit out. Um, so you figure it's pretty much, not that it pretty much got control again. Then they get a pick the next drive, run it back inside the 50. So now, like, okay, we had this horrible third quarter, but everything's gonna be fine. They didn't get a first down off the turnover. Luckily, the kicker, um, I forget his first name, Trickett, kicks a 50-yard field goal. I'm not used to clutch kicks from Minnesota kickers on that side of the field in that stadium. Um, but it was real clutch kick. Boom, 31-20. Okay, maybe now you're okay, because it was at that point there was like 6 minutes left or something. So you figure that's it. But no, the Gophers still had to put a scare into everybody again. Um, Miami drives a little bit. They're down around the 40 or something, but they got fourth down and 10, or I think it was fourth and 10, fourth and long at least. Just almost like a busted play. Quarterback's just running for his life. Just chucks the ball up, hoping something works out. It's incomplete, but we rough the fucking passer. Now I didn't actually see a replay. I didn't notice the roughing. I didn't see a replay in the stadium. I'm sure I'll see it at some point. I don't know if it was a good call or not, but stay the fuck away from the quarterback. Like their quarterback, who is Blaine Gabbert's brother. I was like, his last name is Gabbert. I wonder if he's related to Blaine Gabbert. He is. It's like his younger brother. He's just running for his life. He's just desperate. It's fourth down. Just why are you touching the quarterback at all? Just let it go. So they get a fucking rough in the passer. Next play, he hits a touchdown pass the corner, like the front corner of the end zone. So it was 31-26. Then they don't get the 2, and they kick deep, and finally the Gophers are able to pull off a couple of first downs and burn the clock, and they win. But I mean, even that, it was like 3rd and 5. Like on the first set of downs, it was 3rd and 5. And they got to get up. If they don't get a first down here, they were still in their own end. They're punting, and Miami would have had over a minute. And the way the Gopher defense played today, it's a safe bet that they would have taken the L. So, like, you get the win, and look, the 2019 they looked awful in their non-conference games, including Georgia Southern. Of course, Georgia Southern team, I think, was a pretty decent team, like a pretty decent, like, smaller school team, and actually, like, I think they made a bowl game. But Miami of Ohio was bad. I mean, Miami of Ohio got the shit kicked out of them last week by Cincinnati, who's way better than the Gophers. Cincinnati's a good team, but come on, you're up 21-3 at home, and you're getting the ball to start the second half, and this game went almost the full 60 minutes before you could say you won. That's just crap. It's there's such a thing as a moral loss, like the flip side of a moral victory. That's it. But they got the win, like, but as a harbinger of what's to come, it's not very doesn't instill a lot of confidence. I think they got to play Colorado next week. I have no idea if Colorado's good, but Miami of Ohio ain't good, and they took you to the limit in your own house. So, and then Fleck in his post game, the first thing he talks about is, we had a lot of players out. Just shut the fuck up, PJ. God damn it. Just fucking come out and admit that you played bad, that you coached bad. Like, I don't understand a lot of what they do. Like, it's Tanner Morgan. He's supposed, like, I never bought into it, but he's supposed to be this fucking NFL prospect, and he doesn't look good. He'll have like 1 out of 10 plays he looks like a hell of a quarterback, and the rest of it is he's just completely unimpressive. I think he was like 8 for 17 for this game. Threw into multiple coverages multiple times. Luckily, he's lucky he didn't have multiple picks. But then he also had, in the first half, um, he had a couple of plays on third down that were great, like just absolute firing lasers. A couple of them for touchdowns. It's like, but then it's like, well, you're not using him. Like, so it's like, do they just not have confidence in him? Like, if you have a quarterback who's a potential NFL prospect, fucking use him, especially when you're down your number one running back. But I don't know. I don't understand a lot of what I saw. Their defense is bad. Miami of Ohio couldn't. I mean, they could take advantage, I guess you could say, because they made some big plays in the second half. But Miami of Ohio doesn't have talent of like a Big Ten team. I mean, we saw what Ohio State did to them. Like basically, anytime Ohio State wanted to really do something in that opener, they did it. But um, you know, yeah, like Miami of Ohio's probably got as bad a set of skill players as probably any team on the schedule, and they put up 26 points. It's not a good sign. Um, you know, they gotta hope that it's out of their system, and maybe this was just a clunker, or maybe it's just going to be like 2019 where they're not good in non-conference, and then suddenly they blossom because they play like this. They play like this throughout the season. Not only are they not contending for a Big Ten West, championship, which is probably not going to happen anyway, but I mean, they'll be lucky to go to a bowl game.